The docking bay hissed open with all the drama of a deflating balloon. In Commander Rallick's opinion, it was the perfect metaphor for human technology: loud, messy, and somehow still effective. He straightened his uniform, lifted his translator pad, and prepared for the arrival of the Terran envoy. What he didn't prepare for was her. A human woman stepped through the airlock holding a paper coffee cup like it was the most sacred artifact in the galaxy. Short, messy hair, hoodie, jeans. She had absolutely zero sense of interstellar diplomatic decorum. Rallick blinked. "Envoy Harper, I presume?" She sipped her coffee. "Call me Lina." "Of course." Rallick gestured toward the scanning archway. "If you pass through the—" She walked straight through before you could finish. The scanner's word beeped, then screamed. Red sigils flashed. Klaxons blared. Classification: Precursor-Class. Threat potential: extreme. Do not engage. Lina froze mid-sip. "Huh." Rallick stumbled backward. Precursor-Class? "But humans are a Generation 4 species. You shouldn't be—" "Does that mean I get free coffee?" she asked. The security team just stared at her. The scanner continued shrieking warnings about apocalyptic potential, star-level disruption, and spontaneous molecular rearrangement. Lina looked down at her cup. "Because honestly, this one's awful." Rallick swallowed hard. "Envoy Lina, this classification is reserved for ancient, reality-manipulating species. Beings who shaped the earliest galaxies. Entities who could rewrite physics with stray thoughts." "Oh," Lina said slowly. "So that is why my phone keeps connecting to Wi-Fi networks that don't exist." The guards looked horrified. Rallick's mandibles twitched. "Have you experienced any anomalies recently?" Lina started counting on her fingers. "Let's see. My coffee machine produced espresso despite me putting in instant grounds. My houseplants won't die no matter how much I neglect them. Oh, and last week my neighbor's drone exploded when I walked by." "Exploded?" "Well, imploded. It kind of folded like origami, then vanished into its own shadow." She shrugged. "I thought drones did that now." Rallick stared at her like she was a ticking singularity. "Envoy, you are manifesting precursor phenomena. The galaxy has entire religions centered around less evidence." "Cool, but do they have decent coffee?" "That is not the point." The scanner, realizing it had been ignored, escalated its warnings. "Initiate planetary evacuation protocol? Wyingen." Lina pointed at it. "How do I say no?" "Do not touch anything," Rallick squeaked. Too late. She tapped the WA accept. The display flickered, warped, and corrected itself into nitrogen monoxide before her fingertip even made contact. Rallick nearly fainted. "You overwrote a hardened holographic safety interface." "Without contact. That's a fancy way of saying the button changed its mind," she said. "Buttons do not have minds." "Maybe yours don't." The guard slowly backed away. Rallick pulled up a datapad, his voice trembling. "Lina, we need to bring you to Central Command. The galaxy has protocols for this. You may be the first documented precursor awakening in millions of cycles." She made a face. "Does Central Command have coffee that isn't sludge?" Rallick hesitated. "Yes?" "Then let's roll." The shuttle ride was quiet except for Lina's occasional remarks about the views. Space should have more colors, and Rallick silently re-evaluating every decision that led him to this moment. When they arrived at Central Command's towering citadel, the autoscanners detected her and immediately shut down. Entire security grids powered off. Lights flickered into soothing purple tones. Doors slid open in welcoming waves. Is the building trying to flirt with you?" Rallick whispered. "It can try," Lina said. "But unless it's got a caramel macchiato, I'm not interested." They entered the high chamber. Holograms of galactic leaders shimmered into being. The tri-spiral chancellor leaned forward. "Human Lina Harper. The galaxy greets the awakened precursor. We humbly ask," Lina cut her off. "Do any of you know why I'm like this?" The chamber went silent. Then the holograms flickered. A new sigil appeared, ancient, fractal, older than recorded time. A voice echoed, layered like stacked realities. "You have awakened because the cycle turns again. Your kind once shaped the stars. You have been rebooted." Lina blinked. "Okay, but seriously, coffee?" The voice rumbled across dimensions. "All beverages shall be provided." Rallick dropped his datapad. "Finally," Lina said, stretching. "Now we're getting somewhere." Central Command was chaos. Imagine a kicked anthill, but with more shouting and less dirt. Technicians sprinted down hallways, commanders yelled into comms, and entire sections of the Citadel were recalibrating just to handle one person. That person was me, Lina. I just woken up after a very, very long nap. And they'd given me the title Precursor-Class Entity. Right now, I was sitting in a swivel chair, spinning slowly and sipping something they called ULTR at Prime Mega Roast for diplomats only. I took a sip and frowned. This is still mid. Commander Rowlick, a bug-like guy with big mandibles, looked like he was about to cry. His mandibles drooped so low they nearly scraped the floor. He told me the drink I was holding was brewed from beans grown under the gravity of a collapsed star. Apparently, 6 species risked extinction every single harvest, and each cup cost more than a brand new starship, and I just called it mid. Lina, Rowlick said, trying his best to keep his voice calm, please don't describe hyper-premium coffee, like that. I told him straight up, it tastes like someone burned the beans, buried them, dug them up, and then lied about it. A little whimper escaped him. Just then, a shimmering hologram of the Tri-Spiral Chancellor materialized. She looked important. Awakened Precursor, she began. We must formally discuss your abilities. You altered a fortified scanner system, disrupted quantum-secure infrastructure, and I cut her off. That door apologized to me, I said, pointing at the door I'd just come through. The Chancellor paused. Yes. The Citadel's sentient infrastructure has identified your priority level as highest possible. It is afraid of upsetting you. That's adorable, I thought. But totally unnecessary. Nevertheless, the Chancellor continued, we must proceed cautiously. The awakening of a Precursor-Class mind has galaxy-wide consequences. We require a controlled environment to measure. Suddenly the floor rippled like water. All 3 of us froze. Lina? Rowlick whispered. I lifted my foot off the ground. The rippling stopped instantly. Sorry, I said. My leg fell asleep. My leg fell asleep. And the floor, a solid metal floor, tried to phase into a different dimension just to make me more comfortable. The Chancellor's hologram flickered with what looked like pure panic. She sent a private message to Rowlick, hissing, Commander Rowlick, under nitrogen monoxide circumstances, allow her emotions to spike. If she sneezes, the star charts predict a small but non-zero chance of spontaneous microgalactic realignment. Rowlick turned pale. Lina, are you feeling calm? He asked, his voice shaking. Pretty chill, I replied. But if I don't get something decent to drink soon, I might commit minor war crimes. Rowlick's heart just about stopped. What kind? He stammered. I shrugged. Like switching everyone's sugar with salt. I'm not a monster. The Chancellor looked like she was about to faint. So they moved me to the reality stabilization suite. It was a giant room coated in metaphysical padding. Basically a bouncy castle for people who could destroy a timeline by tripping over a chair. It didn't really help. I sat on a hovering platform while dozens of alien scientists surrounded me, scanning and measuring and whispering nervously. What exactly are you looking for? I finally asked. A 6-legged researcher stuttered. We are attempting to identify the trigger for your awakening. The last documented Precursor-Class entity was 5 million cycles ago, I finished for him, casually. Every head in the room snapped toward me. You remember that? The researcher whispered. I blinked. No, I saw it in your notes. I pointed at his datapad across the room. That font is tiny. You should make accessibility adjustments. The researcher sagged with relief, then froze as he processed what I'd said. Wait, how did you read this from across the room? It's quantum locked. I just shrugged. Oh, it just wasn't locked for me. The whole group of scientists took a step back in unison. The Chancellor approached again, lowering her voice. Lina Harper, do you feel different? More aware? Perhaps recalling memories of what your kind once were. I took a long sip of the terrible coffee. Not really. I just want a better drink. Rowlick rubbed his temples. We are dealing with a Precursor-Class entity whose greatest desire is coffee. I had to correct him. Good coffee. The Chancellor exchanged terrified glances with her advisors. Finally, she let out a long sigh. Very well. If the galaxy's survival requires it, we will grant you access to the Vault of Infinite Delights. Rowlick gasped. That's forbiddance! My ears perked up. Vault of what now? The Chancellor explained. It contains artifacts, foods, and beverages gathered from ancient civilizations across hundreds of millions of years. Most are incomprehensible to modern species. Some are dangerous, some are divine. I stood up. Lead the way. The vault opened with a harmonic tone that vibrated through everyone's bones. Everyone except me, that is. I just walked in like I was entering a grocery store. Inside, rows of glowing relics sat suspended in stasis fields. Vials of luminous liquids, containers from long-extinct species. There were even cup-like objects that pulsed with cosmic energy. I scanned the shelves. Can I try that one? I asked, pointing at a crystalline flask swirling with starlight. Ralek nearly fainted on the spot. That is sun womb nectar. It was brewed by a civilization that predates carbon. I picked it up anyway. The flask glowed brighter in my hand. Everyone panicked. I took a sip. The entire room held its breath, watching me. I swished it around in my mouth thoughtfully. Then I smiled. Okay, I said. Now this is coffee. And somewhere, deep in the citadel, the security system whispered to itself. We are doomed. Lina held the crystalline flask like a warm mug on a rainy day. The scientists around her held one another like it was the end of days. The Tri-Spiral Chancellor's hologram flickered, their voice filled with dread. Lina Harper. Please be extremely cautious. Sun womb nectar is a Phase 0 relic. It is older than matter as you understand it. Lina took another sip. It's got hints of caramel. Ralek, her alien guide, nearly screamed. Not possible! Caramel wasn't invented until your species discovered fire. Yes, I know. She took a thoughtful breath. This is actually the first coffee today that doesn't taste like boiled compost. The vault lights dimmed as if offended. The research team nervously followed her deeper into the vault of infinite delights, cataloging every spontaneous physics disruption she caused just by existing. Portals flickered open and immediately closed. Gravity inverted, then reconsidered, deciding to stay normal. One stasis field sighed audibly. After her third sip, the nectar began glowing brighter. Spiraling patterns shifted inside the flask like constellations rearranging themselves. The Chancellor whispered to Ralek, her interaction with the artifact is accelerating. We must assume the nectar recognizes her lineage. Ralek's mandibles twitched. But that would imply humans are the descendants of the first makers, the Chancellor finished grimly. Yes, and if she continues metabolizing Phase 0 matter at this rate, her awakening may accelerate. Ralek's eyes widened in horror. You think she'd get even stronger? The Chancellor nodded. Ralek slumped. By the stars? Please no. Lina finished the flask with a content sigh. Okay, that was spectacular. Got anything else? The room lit up with emergency crimson. A booming voice shook the vault. Absolute danger. Precursor reactivation level. Delta Prime. Reality shear detected. Lina blinked. That sounds bad. Ralek flailed his limbs. Yes, IT is very bad. The nectar's glow burst from her chest, a pulse of living starlight. Everyone dove behind artifacts, pillars, or each other as the light expanded and then stopped. It shrank, condensing into a small, humming sphere that floated before Lina. She poked it. It purred. Cute, she said. The sphere beeped and projected a tiny hologram of a smiling, impossible geometric shape. Ralek peeked out from behind a pedestal. What is that? Lina shrugged. I think it's a coffee bean. Everyone screamed again. The floating coffee bean zipped into the air, emitting a burst of structured energy. Stasis fields reactivated in precisely 0.2 seconds. Broken artifacts healed themselves. Even the ambient metaphysics stabilized. The Chancellor stared. It's reorganizing the vault. But how? A technician whispered. It isn't sapient, it's just an energy core. The bean bounced around, pleasantly repairing continuum damage like a cosmic janitor. Lina gently reached out. It floated into her palm, chirping affectionately. See? She said. It likes me. Of course it does, Ralek yelled. IT thinks you're its creator, the Chancellor cleared her throat. Lina, you appear to have imprinted on a Phase 0 relic. It is now bonded to you. Like a pet? Lina asked. A pet that can rewrite spacetime, yes. Neat. The bean suddenly pulsed again. This time the pulse extended outside the vault, through halls, walls, and entire sectors of the citadel. A deep, resonant tone echoed through every floor. Awakening sequence partial. Querying host. Identify purpose. Lina frowned. Purpose? I just want coffee that doesn't make me regret waking up. Reality froze. then softened, rippling like warm water. The Chancellor clutched her chest. She gave a precursor awakening engine a purpose based on coffee. The bean chimed cheerfully. Purpose accepted. Beginning cosmic beverage optimization. Lights flickered. Consoles rebooted. Gravity hiccuped. Entire star chart archives scrambled and resorted themselves into beverage categories. A panicking officer shouted over comms, "Chancellor!" All food replicators are converting into universal brewing units. The Citadel's reactor is being repurposed to align flavor spectra. Ralek shrieked. She's turning the command center into a giant coffee maker. Lina looked genuinely delighted. Finally, someone listens, and then a new alarm. Different. Older, deeper. The lights dimmed to ancient gold. A symbol one no species had seen in millions of cycles appeared above the vault doors. The first makers have detected the awakening. Signal response. Inbound. Everyone froze. Lina raised an eyebrow. Should I be worried? The Chancellor whispered, "No, Lina, we should." The symbol hovering above the vault door pulsed like a slow, resonant heartbeat, impossibly old. A profound silence fell over the vault of infinite delights. Even the cosmic coffee bean in Lina's hand dimmed its glow to a nervous amber. The tri-spiral Chancellor whispered, his voice trembling, "That insignia? It predates our galaxy's formation. The first makers have not stirred in billions of years." Lina held her cosmic pet a little closer. "And now they're stirring because of me?" Ralek nodded stiffly. "Yes. You triggered an awakening engine, bonded with a Phase Zero relic, and repurposed the Citadel's reactor into a beverage optimization core. That last part does sound like me," Lina admitted. Before anyone could respond, the air cracked. Not like breaking glass, but like bone snapping. A tear in space opened, folding inwards and outwards at the same time. A silhouette stepped through. It was tall, somewhat humanoid, and seemed to be braided from starlight and shadow. It didn't walk, it glided, weightless and ancient. Instantly, everyone else dropped to their knees. Lina, however, did not. Mostly because she wasn't sure if that was the proper protocol, and also because her coffee bean was vibrating with excitement. The entity's voice resonated without sound. A vibration felt deep in the chest rather than heard by the ears. "We have come for the awakened." Ralek let out a squeal. "They mean you!" "Lina, please be respectful. Possibly grovel." Lina just waved awkwardly. "Hi, I'm Lina." The first maker tilted its head. Its silhouette rippled, as if reality itself couldn't quite decide what shape it was supposed to be. "Human Lina Harper. You have activated the seed of creation." "Oh, you mean this?" She held up the chirping coffee bean. A collective gasp echoed through the vault at her casualness. The entity extended a hand made of swirling starlight. The bean floated up gently, humming at a higher pitch. Ralek whispered a desperate prayer. The first maker examined the bean, turning it over in its eldritch palm. Then its voice resonated again. "Your impact was unintentional." Lina blinked. "Wait, you're telling me I accidentally awakened the cosmic artifact just by looking for better coffee?" The entity's form flickered, as if it was unfamiliar with the very concept of accidents. "You are Precursor-Class. Intention is irrelevant. Your very existence shapes systems." "Neat," Lina said. "But can we shape said systems into providing something that isn't bitter battery acid?" Ralek looked like he was about to faint again. The first maker lowered the bean back into Lina's hands, where it pulsed in a soothing rhythm. "Your purpose signal was received. Beverage optimization is unique." Lina crossed her arms. "I like to stand out. You have awakened only a fraction of your potential. We are here to complete the process." The Chancellor panicked. Wait! Great First Maker, if she awakens fully, won't the galaxy, won't reality, be at risk? The entity turned its attention toward the Chancellor. Its voice was a cosmic hum. "Reality is always at risk. That is the nature of being." Then it turned back to Lina. "If you accept, you will regain all that your kind lost. Everything you once were." Lina stiffened. Her throat tightened in a way she didn't expect. "Will I still be me?" That question seemed to stop even the first maker. The entire vault held its breath. The entity's form softened, coalescing into something more recognizably human-shaped. "You will be more, but you will remain if that is your desire." Lina exhaled slowly. She looked at Ralek's terrified face, at the scientists who'd been following her. and at the tiny cosmic being happy just to be held. She thought of mornings on Earth, of cheap instant coffee that tasted like regret, and of the way she kept going anyway, tired but determined. And then she made her choice. I want to stay me, and I want coffee that doesn't suck. Can we awaken whatever this is without turning me into a cosmic nightmare? The first maker paused. Then, yes, if you limit the awakening to a single domain. Lina blinked. Domain? Like, what domain? Your domain of power. A glowing sigil appeared around her feet. It burst upward in a column of warm white energy. The walls vibrated. The researchers screamed. Ralek grabbed the Chancellor in a protective hug. Lina's eyes glowed briefly with starlight, then dimmed. The sigil vanished. Silence. She looked down at her hands. I don't feel different. The first maker nodded. You now hold the precursor domain of perfect brewing. Lina stared, dumbfounded. My superpower. Is making good coffee? The entire citadel seemed to groan in collective cosmic disbelief. The entity raised one ancient finger. Good is an understatement. You now possess complete mastery of molecular flavor alignment, thermal gradient precision, and quantum infusion. Your brews can calm supernovas, break curses, alter destiny. Lina whispered. Holy crap, Ralek whispered. We're all going to die. The first maker began dissolving back into the dimensional rift. Be warned, Precursor Lina. Other powers will feel your awakening. They will come. Yeah, Lina said, tightening her grip on the bean. Well, they'd better bring a mug. The rift closed. Silence fell once more. Then Ralek finally spoke, his voice weak. Lina, please. Please don't use your powers on our cafeteria. Lina just grinned. No promises. The dimensional rift snapped shut with a soft pop, like someone corking a cosmic bottle. The vault of infinite delights fell too quiet for a chamber that once held relics older than atoms. Lina exhaled slowly. Her hands tingled with a new warmth, a hum thrumming just beneath her skin. It was calm, gentle, focused. Her newfound domain of perfect brewing wasn't some loud, overwhelming force. It felt like a steady confidence, a quiet instinct singing at the back of her mind. Ralek approached her like she was a bomb wired to a surprise confetti cannon. How do you feel? He whispered, his voice trembling. Lina stretched her fingers, feeling the new energy flow through them. Like I could brew the universe a decent cup, she replied. Ralek let out a strangled groan. That's exactly what I was afraid of. They escorted her out of the vault, the cosmic coffee bean now floating alongside her like an eager, glowing puppy. The ship itself seemed to react to her presence. Every system they passed flickered to life, trying to please her. A drink replicator materialized a perfect mug unprompted. A door slid open, then reshaped itself into a gentler, more welcoming archway. A gravlift even started humming a tune that sounded suspiciously like an old Earth jazz riff. The Chancellor hurried beside Lina, a stack of datapads trembling in her hands. Lina Harper, Precursor-Class no. Wait, domain holder of perfect brewing, please. You must understand your situation. You now possess a cosmic, beverage-based power set. This is completely unprecedented. Reality itself might relax, Lina said, patting her on the shoulder with a reassuring smile. I'm not going to planet crack anyone with a cappuccino. The Chancellor's eyes went wide. That is not as reassuring as you think it is. They arrived at the Citadel's cafeteria. Or rather, what used to be the cafeteria. The room was transformed. Soft constellations now swirled along the ceiling. All the machinery had rearranged itself into elegant flowing curves. Brewing units hovered in the air like floating metallic petals, and the counters were formed from some shimmering matter that pulsed with relaxing pastel tones. Lina blinked in surprise. Did this happen because of me? A frightened cook peeked out from behind a newly transformed espresso machine. It started changing right after you awakened, he squeaked. The machines began rearranging themselves. The spices organized themselves alphabetically by flavor resonance. The hot water turned into calming nebula vapor. Lina paused, taking it all in. Then, a huge smile spread across her face. This is awesome. The Chancellor slammed her datapads on a glowing counter. No, it is not awesome. This is a containment hazard. Or, Lina countered, rolling up her sleeves, it's my new test kitchen. The cosmic coffee bean bobbed happily in agreement. Ralek quickly stepped in front of her. Lina, Please, think about this. You've been awake for 15 minutes and you already made the cafeteria sentient. I didn't make it sentient. Lina corrected him. The ceiling lights twinkled approvingly above them. It did that itself, she added, as if that made it better. Ralek let out a little whimper. Lina took a deep breath. The instinct her precursor domain purred to life. Let's try something simple, she murmured. She reached toward a hovering brewing unit. Instantly, heat and pressure folded in perfect unnatural harmony. A mug materialized from shimmering particles. Liquid swirled inside, molecules aligning like constellations dancing in a cosmic rhythm. When she was done, the drink didn't steam. It glowed. The aroma alone was so incredible that Ralek had to sit down before he fainted. Lina handed the cup to the terrified cook. Try this. No, I can't. What if I ascend or explode or something? Just sip. The cook hesitantly drank. A ripple of soft light passed through him. He froze, his eyes wide. A single tear slid down his cheek. He whispered, I remember my grandmother's cooking. I can hear her humming. I think this coffee just fixed my chronic sleep debt. Ralek stared, his voice a mix of horror and awe. It has memory resonance, emotional realignment, thermodynamic forgiveness. Lina, your coffee is rewriting trauma. Lina looked at her glowing hands, a little surprised herself. Oh, so it's good? Good? Ralek shrieked. It's a beverage-based miracle. The Chancellor was already pacing frantically. We must establish regulation immediately. Testing, containment, licensing, maybe we appoint her as a universal barista. No, that just sounds ridiculous. Just then, a new alarm blared through the citadel. Not a danger alert. A broadcast. A message appeared on every screen. Galactic priority signal. Multiple factions approaching. Message content. Seeking Precursor-Class barista. Requesting diplomatic coffee summit. Lina blinked. A coffee summit? Ralek swayed on his feet. Lina. The galaxy thinks you can solve political conflict with lattes. Lina cracked her knuckles, a determined glint in her eyes. Whoa, she said. They're not wrong. The cosmic coffee bean chimed proudly beside her. Lina grinned and stepped behind the gleaming, newly sentient counter. All right then, she said, straightening her sleeves. Let's brew some peace.